Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video. And today we have a top 16 deck list breakdown for the PPG Otakon Dragon Ball Super Regional that happened this past weekend. There were 130 players with 10 rounds of Swiss since it was best of one pre-side to a top 8 cut on day 2, which was played out from there. So big shout outs to Mychal for taking it all for Blue Baby, as well as shout outs to PPG for giving me the list to give to you guys. Make sure to check out their next in-person regional, which is in Kansas City. And if you want to see me there, let me know. I'm on the fence as it is. Kansas City is my hometown, so I got to go back there eventually. Am I right? And additionally, shout outs to Eddie as well for not only giving me his list since I couldn't find it for a minute there, but also for doing some recordings of the top 8 matches. Linked in the description is the channel as well as some of these matches if you guys want to see the top 8. There wasn't a stream at this event due to the venue internet, but Eddie made sure that there were some matches for you guys to see if you want to check it out. So shout outs to them. And also, if you guys enjoyed this video or enjoy these breakdowns, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. A lot of effort goes into putting these together, and I hope you guys do appreciate it. So going through our top 16, we do have, 12 different leaders? We're going to go through all of them. And so we have 4 U7 Goku, 2 Blue Baby, which was won the event. Blue Baby was a launch, an SS3 reboot, a Gogeta Xeno, a Golden Frieza, a Spaceship GT, an Expert Deck Cell, a DripKu, a Cooler Mill, an Androidd 16, and a Mass Saiyan reboot. So this is 100% more of a player format than I think necessarily a deck building format, which I think is really, really cool. And again, like for a format we've been in for the last 2 months, there's no lack of creativity or different leaders that we see. And because if you believe in your deck and you train and play hard enough, I think a lot of leaders can get into a top 16 like we're seeing today here. So we're going to look at every leader that topped, and then the top list for anything with multiples. And we're going to start off with Mychal's Blue Baby. Starting off, we do have Mychal's Blue Baby that did get first place at this event. And we've been seeing a lot of Gamma in these past couple weeks, especially since it's the new boy. But I think a lot of people are saying, Gamma is really good. But you will notice that it did not top 16 this event, which is really peculiar. So I think a lot of people are kind of going back to their roots to a lot of just other good blue leaders that obviously Gamma untapping through at the end of every turn is great. But being able to, locking it to just the Aandroidd cards, I don't think they're quite there yet for every kind of matchup. And something like this with Blue Baby, especially in a format where you do have this pre-side and Baby just has a lot of options, and if you can see what your opponent's leader is and kind of understand what their deck's trying to do, you can get the options that make sense for your matchup and kind of go from there. So yeah, I don't know, Blue's just had so many good cards just printed slowly over the last couple sets, so having a leader like Baby who can take advantage of it, who can really ramp up and get some of these big drops out of the way, feels really good. Obviously, Majin Buu is still good. Like, this is a year-old card, and it is still warping the meta. We do have the new Super Saiyan God Son Goku doing stuff here. But are there any cards in this deck that are from the most recent set? I don't think so. Goku's probably the closest, right? BT16. I don't think there's any BT17 cards in this list, which just shows it's still just a good list that people are going back in time and you know what, let's play the deck that I like the most and that I feel very, very comfortable with, and just kind of going from there. So just a lot of good targets in here. This is just like a really slow, grindy list in a lot of ways, especially with King Cold, Astral Tyrant in the deck just to mill your opponent the last 5 for them to lose the game there. You just have so much ways to floodgate your opponent. And again, having the sideboard being able to say, Jiren in the side or Jaboro in the side or Kami, anything that you need to help you get what you need to do, or just, get those negates, or, tailor it to your opponent's playstyle. Just means something like this is just, if you play it and pilot it well like Mychal did, you're gonna do very, very well. So congrats to Mychal there with this Blue Baby. There were 2 in the top, and this is the one that won it all. So next up, we do have the second place. So this is Dylan's Universe 7 Goku. And I think Universe 7 Goku I'm not trying to make this sound like insulting, but it is probably the most straightforward deck right now. And I think it's been, it's topped since release, right? And so this is no way against anyone who runs the deck. But if you want to get into the game, if you are someone who says, I want to top, I want to do well, this is probably one of the best decks in the format to do that. And there's just been so many people who can just pick this up, figure out exactly what this deck does, and it just jives, right? There's just so many good plays. Yes, of course, that turn 4, there's probably a good chance that they're going to play Ultra Mastery. There's not always going to be a chance. I think this is kind of like not as favored anymore because people are finding ways around it. But you just get so much value. I will still say it to this day. The fact that this can awaken at four more life without having to go down to 6 is a mistake. I don't know why they didn't just put it down to 6. There's like no reason for it. But one interesting card that I saw that a lot of people were playing that I hadn't seen previously in these builds are these Stealth Silhouette Gami Saras, I believe. Choose up to 1 battle card with any cost of 1 from your deck, place in your drop here, then shuffle your deck, then choose one. Choose up to 1 of your battle cards and it gets plus 5k power for the turn, or choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, it gets minus 5k power for the turn. Not only is this like a passive way to buff yourself, but if you need to try to get your Universe 7s into your drop area for your Awakening effect, like your 1-drop Gohans, I think that's actually it, right? Yeah, oh, and the Aandroidd 17s, which these are just like useless later game anyways too. So and it's also, if this is placed in your drop area from your deck by a skill, you get to play this for free, which is kind of nice. So this gets, you sends it from your deck to your drop area to get to play for free, which gets another draw and like the burst one. So a lot, like a cute little combo there. I think this is just super unintended, but it does work out for what people are doing. So really cool. There's been a lot of interesting text too. I did see on another one, they're playing like the Xeno Frieza, because we do have this 4-drop golden Frieza here, dual attack, sparking 7, and you can use the negative energy ball to go into the other Frieza from there. So that's just puts more pressure for no card, like no energy, which is really crazy. And I don't know, red, this deck, I think there are some minor tweaks that people are doing and to kind of make it themselves, but this is just such a strong archetype in a lot of ways that if you want to try to do well, I think Universe 7, it's still like the best deck, at least if you want to get top 16 in my mind, and I'm not surprised that I got 4 out of the 16 spots at this event. So congrats to all the Universe 7 players, and this is Dylan's list for that event. So next up, we do have Eric Hill's top 4 launch list, and I definitely do, like a lot of people have been talking about launch lately, specifically for Zenkai. Just the fact that this lets you get so much free Zenkai energy or Z energy because of how much it combos with, and also some potential interactions with these 1-drop launches that we're still trying to figure out how it's going to work out in the end. But yeah, something like this is just very powerful, being able to use your effects to combo up and potentially make Z energy later. But in this format, we've been seeing this blue-red version appear before. A lot of interesting text here, including, I think, the Hasty Dispatch Dispo, my apologies, which lets you play a battle card that costs 1 from your drop here with skills negated for the turn, which I think you can use to bring back, not this, yeah, you can bring back any of these 1-drops, that combo, and then you can't combo with them on your first turn, but with their skills negated, you get to use them later. You actually might be able to, I don't think you can get their effects when you play with this, but I could be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. But just being able to recycle these to help you with your launch stuff, I think is nice, especially for essentially free with this dispo. This just gets additional value for like you combo this turn 1, turn 2, use its effect to bring back a launch, which you get to use for combo power later in the game. That's kind of nice. And we also have seen like this baby Unison just wreak havoc in any deck that can run it. It's so good, so much card advantage. It's just very hard to get rid of, and it's very good at taking care of your opponent's cards as well. So there's some really good stuff with red blue. Just being able to combo the Beerus super combo. Where is he? Yeah, this Beerus super combo is fantastic in something like launch, where you want to combo anyways, and then you have your red blue, which means you can go into your coolers on the defense step, and then on your next turn you can start being aggressive with them too. So really good stuff. I like the launch stuff doing, and some interesting side. The Bardock's a really interesting one for this lineup, probably just for the Vegito, to potentially just like play it and then -5 to deal damage to your opponent if you're playing something that's really obnoxious with your energy, or like not letting you attack. So that's probably what that's for. And like the desperate measures too, because you are playing blue red to get that off as well, I think is interesting. Even though you need a red Saiyan leader for Vegeta, so yeah, that's probably the better bet for that. So anyways, congrats to Eric on their top 4 finish. And next up, we do have our Universe 7 SS3 Goku. So this is Jose's SS3 reboot here. And this was one of the matches that is on Eddie's channel, so make sure to check out that match too. But I kind of spoiled what I want to talk about in this one with the SS3, but there's just so many good cards in blue. Blue just has so many ways to just like draw one. Like playing this for 1 to like get a like you don't even reduce the cost. You play it from your hand and draw a card, but like it's still like a 4 cost, which a lot of the things that pop things are 3 cost or less. And I mean, it has deflect anyways. I don't know. Like this is such a good Calamity's Challenger is such a good card. I don't know what they were thinking of printing it. Like just 1 to draw a card and like have a blocker with deflect too. Super silly. We also have like the Awakening Talent Pan, which is good for self-awakening and also just being obnoxious there. The SS3, or it's not SS3, the SS Vegeta, the Interceptor, is doing this. This is just a really interesting card. A lot of people just got like stuck on this guy, and then like, it's still a 20k dual attacker or 20k dual attacker that you just get to bottom deck 2 cards when you play it. So that's kind of like, he's so good. Like imagine if this had deflect, like it'd be busted. So from there, I like this beer. This is such an interesting Beerus, and I think it's just purely for Bulma. But when you play this card, your opponent chooses a card from a number of cards from their hand equal to the number of battle cards in their battle area with any cost of 1 or less. Places the cards on top of their deck in any order. Then your opponent returns all the battle cards with any cost of 1 or less to their hand. So like, it just makes them like discard 5, which is really, really funny in a deck like this. And I could see that like catching my opponent off guard. Like this is like a set 1, set 2 card. Like it is an uncommon from set 2 that has like a weird interaction right now, which is really funny. And we love to see that. Like that's something that's so cool about a game like this, which has the entire card collection minus the ban list for the last 5 years. So in general, yeah, blues, I hate playing against blues sometimes. They just feel like they have everything in the world. You can't do about it. And Reboot is SS3 Reboot is one of the best leaders to do that, as long as you can survive the swing from being able to untap 3 every turn. And I mean, as long as you get to play your Majin Buu, you're usually fine. And it's just very, very strong. So congrats to Jose there. Next up, we have Noel's list of Gogeta Xeno. This has obviously got a lot of nerfs in the last couple of sets, and I think a lot of people immediately stepped off of it because of that. But I think it's the best deck in the format for a long time, and I don't think anyone would disagree with that. And so being able to still play it with the kind of neutered power, I think is kind of good. Nothing too new, I would say, from this build. It's pretty standard, right? It's a kind of an archetype that kind of builds itself. You do have to be a little bit lucky and a little bit planning with the cards that you discard off the top of your deck with your leader effect to make sure you get what makes sense. But there's just so many good cards in this archetype. Like you just got to play so much stuff for free, especially in a format that is like a little bit slower right now. Being able to play something that's so aggressive can catch your opponent off guard at times. So nothing too silly there. We do have 4 heavily wizened Demigra, which is probably for Sin Shenron, which we haven't seen Sin Shenron in a minute, which is really interesting to see. And yeah, I don't know. Gogeta's good. I don't think it's broken. I think it's a top 16 is not rare for it, but it's also a deck that hasn't really done anything new besides like the biggest change to this deck list is the ban list, not adding new, like having to restrict cards in its card pool instead of adding cards to its card pool. So that's less interesting for me to build a deck that doesn't have anything new with it, but I do recognize the power of it still, and congrats to Noel for your finish there. Next up, we do have the Golden Frieza from Kristopher, top 8 as well. And talk about, like, when you're talking about BT1 and BT2 stuff, like, this is still, like, the oldest leader that still gets value. Like, it's so silly that this still just gets around every once in a while. So, a lot of cool choices here. We do have, like, the SS2 Gohan, one of my favorite cards in the set. It does so much value. It's, like, just so much damage to your opponent if they're not expecting it. We also have the Dragon Fist. We have the Goku Absolute Annihilation. There's also the Dispo in here, which I think is an interesting tech, which you can just use to bring back a 1-drop Tagoma, which means that, like, if you tap out to play, like, a SS Trunks, then you can use a Dispo if your battle area is still empty to bring back the Tagoma, to bring it back, to use the leader effect to KO it, get the 2 energy back in the draw. And I think that's a really good tech for something like this, especially if you're going for more of a unison build. That does help a lot. So, and we are running the yellow-blue build with this too. We've got the Zamasu, we've got the Sensu Beans, and we even have like the SS Rose, which I love to see this at 1 when you're playing a list that also runs like Sensu Beans. Can catch your opponent off guard when they're not expecting it. Mecha Frieza in this archetype is so good because it just works incidentally. You can play it, and then the next turn you have a free target for it. And yeah, I really like this deck. There's I love the tenacity of it still putting out tops years later after it was released. Like way before what's a unison, what's Z energy, like all that kind of stuff. What's a multicolor card kind of thing. It's always makes me smile when we see a deck like Golden Frieza still taking it kind of a little bit later. So we have 2 Release from Evil, Frost Deadly Poison, nice card, Master Roshi in case you are needing some Self Awakening. Which again, like this leader could be pretty good when you're playing in an archetype where you can play a Z battle card that helps you Z Awaken, especially if you can play a Z battle card that's like a Frieza army for 1. I think that could be kind of nice for this list too. So Fu, we got some other Friezas as well if you need to play a little bit more aggressive. Like this guy is so fun. You can EX onto a Universe 7. Did you just hardcast this? This isn't a Universe 7 one, right? No. So you have to like hardcast this for 7? Why not? Why not, right? There's nothing... I'm not missing anything, right? No, I think you just hardcast this for 7, because that's to be a Universe 7 with a cost of 5. I mean, you can EX Evolve on top of itself, baby. I don't know, Frieza all the way. Let's go. So congrats to Kristopher for their finish there. Next up, we do have She's Spaceship GT archetype. And I think this is one that a lot of people, including myself, thought that would... It's still topping, don't get me wrong, and I think this is a strong archetype. And it's honestly like a really nostalgic archetype. It does remind me of like Set 3 GT kind of stuff, and I'm glad that it's coming back. Though, obviously, I think Pan's going to help that a little bit more with the reboot in the next couple of weeks. But getting a Unison out for free that has a lot of these spaceship stuff, like just gets a lot of markers and the difference of stats. We already know that kind of thing, but I think this is kind of filling the void of like King Piccolo after it's left, and it has a lot of the similar play style of Piccolo, not necessarily of playing from life, but being able to put cards underneath your spaceship and then being able to play cards from essentially an area that's protected, that's very difficult to interact with conventionally. So I think this is very strong as well. Red does have like a lot of good like mid-range aggression tools, like these Brolys, the Bulmas as well, and like a very, very diverse sideboard here too for your picks and stuff. So I do like Broly is fantastic in like a blue archetype matchup, so being able to put more of those in the main I think is good. And I don't know, I don't play a lot of this deck, so I'm not gonna say I'm super qualified for this list, but I do know that this is powerful when, and I don't know, if you hit it right. I think King Piccolo in his prime is still more powerful than this deck right now, but I do think it is strong, and congrats to She's for their top 8 finish there. Next up, we do have our top 16. We're starting with Brendan's top 16 expert cell, and Cell's still here, baby. I think it's something you have to respect. And I am also adding an extra respect to I think Cell is a little bit trickier in a best of 1 pre-side format compared to a best of 3 format, just because I feel like so many people are just have 1 or 2 cards in their sideboard, like Deborah, if you have, like the yellow Gohan, if your archetype has it, like being able to use these effects to mitigate the kind of advantage that Cell gets a lot of the time. But it's still great. It's very consistent. It's probably one of the best decks to get into the game with if you have it, which is really nice to see. Like, no joke. Like, this is almost just 2 starter decks pushed together, with the exception of the Secret Rare, obviously the 7 cost Perfect Force Cell, and an expansion set card and another expert deck card, right? So like very, very easy for you to build, which is nice to see. And I do like the kind of the play style with this too. The Vegito gets a lot of draw power. Dormant can prevent your opponent from really going off. Wretched Regeneration 2, being able to get a big boy cell if you need to. Like, Perfect Force is still fine of a card. You do have to pay a lot of energy for it, but like when you get it down, I still think the cool factor outweighs the strong factor of Perfect Force Cell sometimes, but like it still feels really good to get it off. So I get why you'd run it in a list like this. So, and then just some just interesting side cards. We do also have, this is kind of, I've seen a lot of people kind of talk about this guy. So when you come with this card from your drop area, choose up to 1 that doesn't matter. But if your opponent has 4 more energy, you have a cell card with any cost of 4 more in play. Play this card from your hand. If you do choose one of your opponent's cards, switch to rest mode, and you can't play this for the duration of the turn. So being able to switch something to rest for free is kind of nice for having the sell out, which you already will. So if they play kind of like a blocker that, the negate blocker, this can be a way to get around it, which green doesn't really have a lot of ways to do that, especially because Frieza doesn't pop the negate blockers because they don't have token cost. So being able to have that is nice, especially with another one on the side. And yeah, I like Expert Deck Cell. I'm happy that it's still topping, even a couple months later, even because it's just so linear. People kind of figure it out, but it still does something nice. So congrats there to Brenden. And then we do have next up Eddie's yellow DripKu. And I gotta say, I've seen a couple of Eddie's topping lists, and one of my favorite things that I've seen time and time again is the ratios are 4s. They're always 4s. They're always 4 of everything, and then 1 of the cards you can run. And the only exception to this is Krillin, because they're playing 1 of the Son Goku or Son Gohan Piccolo secret rares, which is a super combo, so 3 Krillins, right? But other than that, it's just like, it's literally 4 of everything, and then 1 of the cards that are limited to 1, like, which are the Power of a Super Saiyan and the Bergamo. Man, do you guys remember when this is at 4? It's madness running this card at 4. That's so much value. But I do like DripKu. I do like the idea of the yellow unisons. I've been playing a lot of like the Turtles engines of it too, and I think this is just such a good leader for these unison things. The only thing that I'd have to see him play it, but I do think it is interesting that there's very little combo cards in hand. For this, you can't obviously Spirit Boost X to get some extra combos with the Goku, but that is very interesting. That it's very, very few combos, but 4 coolers in the main. What a mad lad doing that as well. We do also have the Trunks and the Gohan promos as well from the, I think it was like the pre-release events. So being able to get some early kind of card advantage from this, as well as some early like Empower chains, which I think is very nice. And you'll just see like the only ones that are playing are the Trunks and the Son Gohan, and then the Vegeta as well, which gets a lot of value. So these also they get the boost whenever you have the markers. So if you have 3 markers, it's 11k, which is nice. Gets over a lot of things. Get some free cycle put on the +1, and then the +1 in this, you switch to active mode. It has blocker if you need it. So you can have like 3 markers, 4 markers with the +1, and you get like you get to swing with it, and then you get free standard, which is kind of nice. And obviously, you guys know I like Gohan, and really just like after that, I think like I'm gonna have to assume, but like the way you play this deck is that you just play a Unison for cheap and Empower, and then you use the rest of your turn to make sure that it stays alive, and then you do the same thing next turn, which is fine. I think that's a fine game plan, and obviously it worked to get top 16. So, and also this card's so good. I just picked up my copy of it. You should get this guy, especially before the movie drops, because people are probably going to buy this card just because it's from the movie, and if the movie's good, then this card's going to be sold out. So that's my insight. You should probably buy it. It's such a good card. Next up, we do have our Cooler Mill. So this is Patrick's version of this. It looks a lot like the launch build as well. A lot of just doing the good red-blue stuff that's been out for like a year. No, came out like 2019. So for like 2 years, this cooler's just been like the best card for blue-red arrival, and it's just been the case. So why not still use it? So we do have the new tools with the baby unison, as we said, especially with Videl being such a good counterplay for this list as well. So it does help proc your cooler. You get some card advantage for it, and you'll be able to pop some big boy cards with this too. I think that makes a lot of sense for a list like this. And yeah, I don't know, like red cooler is super good. Topo, I mean, there are some ways to get around it, but people still can swing into it. Being able to get a free untap with the Beerus is always good. Beerus and Bean is just such a good combination in deck that can take advantage of it. Goku Apes for when you need to draw more and you just don't have anything to do on your own turn. And yeah, I think yeah, babies just helped a lot of red decks in a lot of ways. So this is, I don't have a lot to say after that, but congrats to Patrick for their finish there. We got 2 more lists, almost done. We do have Kevin's top 16, Aandroidd 16. Obviously, I've been seeing a lot of Jared's tops with this list, and others, but I think this is still like it's like a combination of it's obviously blue-green, but being able to run like Majin Buu successfully just means like a deck is viable. Isn't that silly? Just the fact that if you can consistently take advantage of how good Majin Buu is, your deck is probably already tier 2 plus. Like this is such a strong card, and it just helps so many lists. And I don't think it's the reason that Aandroidd 16 is doing well by itself, but it is definitely a good, like one of the most important cards in the archetype. So we just have all the good Aandroidd 16 boys and some new Android 16 and 17s, including the 4 cost, which is blue green. I mean, it doesn't. You get the energy exhaust. Oh no, wait. Oh, you have to hard do this one, right? Because it doesn't. It's only Android 16 with arrival, but you can still play this from your hand, which is still good. We do have like the untap with blue green, which is nice too. We have the big 8-drop to the Kusus at 2, and just a lot of just obnoxious cards, honestly. There's just so many obnoxious cards in blue and green for this Android to take care of. And I talked about it with Launch 2, but this is just a deck that combos for free every turn, which means that once on your turn and once on your opponent's turn, which just means free Z energy. So if there's something that this leader can take advantage of next set, I think this is not going anywhere, and it will just be more present than where it's been. So I don't have a lot to say from there. I think it might... getting risky, playing some black cards in your side deck when you can ramp into them. Pretty risky. I don't know. Congrats to Patryk for that on your top 16 finish. And lastly, we're going to go into our top 16, 16th place, unless the order I got was wrong and someone else got 16th place. We do have Franklin's Mass Saint Reboot. And such an interesting deck to just see pop out of nowhere, but it's a good Black Saiyan leader. And I mean, when Vegex also just burst 3 at this point anyways, this just is better Vegex in a lot of ways, which is very funny. So we have all the good starter deck mill cards, we have including the Gotenks here, and then you're just a big boy Overwhelm deck that just tries to get stuff done. The Mass Saiyan Spirit Boost Enigma is quite a good card, and like this is like a great card for your Spirit Boost stuff because it does do the +2 and is kind of cumbersome for your opponent to try to get rid of this. So being able to use an archetype that takes care of that Spirit Boost for you, I think is nice. We do have like the tag team Sun Gohan to get some free plays for offense or defense because it does have that blocker. Pan is still broken, like a 40k you can play for free. Why not? Sure, let's go for it. And obviously the Furthering Destruction Champas to help get that double strike crit that we know we love so very much. Though I am surprised there's no like Crack in Space Time, I believe is the extra card's name, or even more Kais. I'm surprised that 4 Champas is the go. I'd expect almost more, but especially since you play so much stuff for free in this deck anyways, and you have so many possibilities to do some crit damage, that we're not seeing more of that. But I'm obviously not getting top 16 with this list anyways, so what do I know about that? But this is Franklin's list. Congrats to Franklin on their top 16 finish. And that is it. That is all 12 decks we're going through today. So congrats to all of the top 16 players from this event. Really cool to see all these fairly unique decks. Like every time I do a Dragon Ball Super Regional breakdown, which is like once a month right now, we'll talk about our feelings about that later. But we have a lot of events coming up in the next couple of weeks, and I'm excited to see just what people are playing, what they top with, and what does well in those kind of events. But that's going to be it for me. Again, thank you to PPG for running the event and giving me the deck list, as well as Eddie St. Hilaire for giving me his list, as well as having some footage for the event too. So make sure to check those videos out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.
Damn it.